I'm with an extremely high and extremely clandestine level of government. I will not give my name, title, or job description. Some of the following may already lead back to me as it is, and if I'm discovered as a whistleblower, well, my life is forfeit. Throughout your elementary school science lessons, you probably spent some time learning about some of the basic features of our world. Crust, mantle, inner core, outer core, etc. For the most part, these teachings are correct. There is, however, an extremely significant piece of information missing. Depending on which agency or nation you're dealing with, it goes by a different name. I'll refer to it as it's most commonly called: the Stygian lair. Over a dozen miles beneath the Earth's surface is an entirely alien ecosystem. This is not a hollow world theory as portrayed in media and literature. There is no inner sun or lost civilizations. The world below us is a series of globe-spanning tunnels, cavities, and caverns, which exist in a state of absolute perpetual darkness. You would need to speak to someone more informed than I on the specifics, but the open tunnels allow air to circulate throughout the system, cooling down what should be an area well into the hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit. The danger is not the existence of the Stygian lair, but rather the creatures that inhabit it. From the multitude of samples we have collected, the creatures native to the Stygian lair are life forms dating back hundreds of millions of years. Over several of the Earth's eras, the immense pressure in the area has caused drastic abnormalities in these species, resulting in several life forms developing near indestructibility and the ability to hunt prey in a completely lightless environment. Other unknown effects have resulted in remarkable attributes, some of which are completely unexplainable by any scientific discipline at this time. You may ask why this remote and foreign realm has been kept hidden from the general public. I'll explain. If you've listened to other stories on Mr. Dread's channel, or have read about bizarre or unexplained events and encounters online, then there's a strong possibility that the culprits of these incidents originated in the Stygian lair. On occasion, fissures will open up along the Earth's crust, which results in an entry point for the creatures below to emerge into our surface domain. I can't confirm that creatures like the Loch Ness Monster or Sasquatches have their origins in the Stygian lair, but I can say that it's entirely possible that these, as well as a vast majority of cryptids, have their ancestry rooted in the dark depths of the Earth. As part of my employment with the US government, I act as a form of liaison to other similar organizations across the planet. A small portion of the world's nations, actively and in concert, strive to keep the existence of the Stygian lair completely unrevealed and classified, react to and eliminate or capture emergences of creatures from the Stygian lair, destroy or otherwise block known entry points to the Earth's surface. When this isn't possible, to defend and secure entry points. There are 3 active and known entry points in the northern United States. For reasons of geologic stability, these entry points cannot be permanently shut. One along the northeastern coast of Canada, one in Central America, and one in the deserts of the western United States. There are only 3 entry points out of a total of 18 worldwide entry points that we're aware of. It's believed that at least one, if not more, species of creature has the means to efficiently drill into the Earth. This necessitates a perpetual state of vigilance to quickly identify and respond to any new entrances created. We have about a 63% success rate of predicting where new entry points are emerging. This leaves a 37% fail rate. When these creatures emerge, human lives are in an absolute state of danger. There have been instances where entire populations of remote towns and villages have been laid to waste by a single entity from below. On 5 occasions in the past decade, our organization has responded to crisis-level events within our own country. During all 5 events, creatures numbering in the high hundreds successfully infiltrated the planet's surface, causing widespread damage and loss of human life. Great care is taken to obfuscate the true nature of these events. Natural and man-made disasters are falsely cited as the cause of these events. It's further believed that there exists a species of hyper-intelligent and sentient reptilians that are evading detection as they ascend to the surface. The idea of subterranean reptilians is also something that's been portrayed in the media, as well as being a component of several conspiracy theories. We have absolutely no confirmation that any of these reptilians are capable of mimicking human mannerisms or appearances. It is thought, however, that these creatures have drastically different technology than our own, with its foundations in the manipulation of organic material rather than hard components. For reasons of global stability and physical security, this has all been kept hidden from you. I'm sure you could imagine the sheer panic that would spread like wildfire should it be discovered. If a hostile nation or terrorist organization were to somehow gain access or control over the creatures from the Stygian lair, it could quickly result in an apocalyptic scenario. We don't know the total population of the creatures below us. We don't know their full capabilities or intellect. We don't know how many have successfully made it topside. We don't know if government officials have been compromised. We don't know how many entry points exist. The number of instances are rising. Decade after decade has seen an alarming escalation of minor emergencies as well as crisis-level events. I alone now believe that the public must be made aware of the constant state of danger that we unknowingly live in. It's only a matter of time before a situation occurs that cannot be contained. I implore you all to seek the truth and to begin demanding answers from your public servants. Be vigilant. Be prepared. I was never really someone who was too interested in camping or the outdoors, and after this story, I never want to do it again. My brother talked me into joining him and his fiancée on a weekend camping trip. They're both avid hikers who love nature and live a very granola lifestyle. I'm pretty much the exact opposite, but I agreed to make my brother happy. We got to the campsite and set up our tents. It was about midday by the time the camp was all set. We had a fire started and we were setting up the grill to throw on some burgers. My brother suggested we go scout out the area and look for cool hiking trails and photo spots. I'm a photographer, and I suspected I was going to be roped into taking their engagement photos. We set off and started hiking through the woods. Nothing was out of the ordinary, for him at least. The woods are very foreign to me already. My brother has always had a weird habit of making weird random noises. Like he'd beep boop and stuff to make sound effects for his movements. I thought I heard him making tiny clicking noises while we were walking, which was a new noise for him, but I didn't think much of it at the time. We found a really beautiful cliff to take some photos and made a plan to come back later for some nice golden hour shots. We got back and ate some burgers and talked for a while. I got to know his fiancée a bit better. After eating, we hiked back to the cliff. I got some amazing shots of them, as well as some nice landscapes and nature shots for my own portfolio. Honestly, I was starting to enjoy my time outdoors. After we returned and chilled at the camp for a little bit, his fiancée wanted to walk to this little spring she'd heard about and swim. I was tired and didn't want to walk that far, so I told them to go without me. I was relaxing on the ground, staring at the sky and admiring the stars I rarely got to see in the city, and I heard the clicking noise my brother was making earlier. They'd only been gone for 15 minutes or so, and I expected them to be gone for an hour or more. I called out for my brother and didn't get a response. all I heard was a quiet rustling in the leaves. I called for them both again and waited for a response, but all I heard was the clicking noise again. At this point, I kind of thought my brother was trying to scare me since I was so out of my element there. I yelled out again and told him that it wasn't funny. I knew he was just trying to scare me. But he didn't stop, and the rustling moved closer. I sat up and looked toward the woods where I thought I heard him. It was dark and hard to make much out, but towards the ground I saw something white moving, like snow white, translucent white. Not my brother. I stood up and grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. When I lit the area, whatever it was stopped moving. I froze in place as I got a better look at it. I didn't know what the hell I was looking at. It was ghostly white with 4 long, thin limbs. It was crouched on the ground with them all sharply bent. It almost looked like a freakishly large spider. I heard the clicking noise I thought my brother was making come from this thing. I got a brief look at its face when it looked up at me. Its eyes were hollow and dark, and its mouth was hanging open. I can still hardly comprehend what I was looking at. After a few seconds of staring, it lunged at me. I was able to dodge it, but I fell on the ground doing so. It's almost like it moved too fast and wasn't able to stop itself right away because it had to skid to a stop. I stood up quickly as I could and ran to my brother's car. Thankfully, it was just us out there and he left it unlocked, with the keys sitting right on the front seat. I put them in the ignition and turned the headlights on so I could see if this thing was coming at me. I got one last good look at it when I turned the headlights on. It looked human, like someone was walking on all fours. It was naked, but I didn't see any genitalia to distinguish it as male or female, and its face was thin and virtually featureless. I knew I needed to call my brother and make sure he was okay. This thing lunged at me, so I didn't know how dangerous it was, or if there were more of them, or what. I was worried, but being the clumsy idiot that I am, I dropped my phone when I hit the ground. Against every molecule in my body telling me to stay in the car, I jumped out and ran to get my phone to call him. When I stepped out of the car, I heard the clicking noise again, just in the woods, like it was there, watching me, waiting for me to leave. I ran back and called my brother. He didn't answer the first time and I started to panic, but I called again and he answered. They hadn't seen anything, but when I told him what happened, they rushed back. I made them help me pack and told them we had to leave. When they were back at the camp, I didn't hear any clicking, and I was listening extra close for it. It hit me on the drive back that it was following my brother and I earlier, and was probably waiting for an opportunity with one of us alone. I never heard of the Jersey Devil until I moved to the Pine Barrens a couple years ago. I live in Chatsworth, New Jersey, the unofficial capital of the Pine Barrens. All around the little town, there's blueberry fields and cranberry bogs. People sit around talking in the local diner, and I started hearing stories about the Jersey Devil. Supposedly it's lived for hundreds of years, I guess because it's a demon. Some of the stories are pretty convincing. Folks talk about its scream the most and say it's a terrifying sound, like a tortured woman, and dogs and livestock getting attacked. The Barrens is a pretty creepy place. I don't go in there at night, but I've been during the day and seen the old houses, just standing empty in deep woods. You can imagine anything could be living in there. So one day, me and some other people got hired for a job to tear down an old abandoned building in there, outside of town. Guess some rich guy bought the land and wanted to build a mansion on it. We went out to look at the site, and one guy quit right away. He said he ain't tearing down nothing in the Barrens. I asked him why, and he said, "The devil don't like it." "The devil?" I said, thinking he meant the dude underground. "The Jersey Devil. he said. Well, I needed the money, and it wasn't nothing but an old barn. 6 of us stayed on. The first day, we just brought in all the equipment. Had a big bulldozer and a dumpster. We started by just going inside and hauling everything out. Old troughs, saddles, rusty farm equipment. Nothing weird happened until we were getting in our trucks to leave. We heard a loud screech. We all looked at each other like, "Did you hear that?" We all did, and we all knew it wasn't good. But we didn't talk about it, just left. The next day, one of the crew didn't show. Said he was sick, but I wonder if he was scared. I didn't blame him. I went though, and we finished hauling the stuff out. It took longer than we thought it would, and we filled that whole dumpster. There was a lot of crap in that barn. So we had to get the company to haul the dumpster away and empty it. I figured we wouldn't get anything else done that day, but the company wanted us to stick around in case they were able to bring another one. So we all sat around and ate lunch. I asked the guys what they thought the noise we heard was. No one said anything. Finally, this one woman said, "It was the Jersey Devil. Come on, guys, you know it." Lots of protests, but they didn't sound convincing. Then we were just sitting there, and we heard the scream again. We all just sort of froze. One guy got in his truck and left. He just took off. The rest of us sat there staring at each other. I mean, it was the middle of the day. The foreman came back and found us there. He must have thought we were crazy, but he just told us to go home. 2 guys didn't show up the next day, so there were just 3 of us left. Luckily, we were ready to start the actual demolition. Really, we just needed one of us to drive the bulldozer and the others to pick up stuff. We went to work, and within a few minutes, Kenny and I heard the scream. We were the ones picking up stray boards and junk while Jane ran the excavator. She probably didn't hear it over the engine, but we sure did. I didn't know what to do. I was thinking I should get in my truck when this thing ran out of the forest. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen. Its legs were all crooked, and it walked hunched over like. The eyes were the most horrible part, red and glowing and just evil. It had wings, too, like bat wings, except you could see the bones. You could see its bones all over its body, like its rib cage popped out. The head was goat-like, but also a skull. It screeched again as it ran toward us, and we all bolted. I was so scared I couldn't get my keys out of my pocket. I dropped my keys on the ground, and the thing ran toward me, like it knew I wasn't going to make it in time. But I scooped up those keys quick and pushed the button. I never heard such a wonderful sound in my life as that door unlocking. I jumped in, and that devil was right behind me. It threw itself against the window, and I thought it might break it. I jammed the key in the ignition, started the truck, and gunned it. But then I saw the thing going for Kenny. I turned the truck in that direction, thinking maybe I could hit the thing. Kenny was running for his truck, which was on the other side of the excavator. I couldn't get around there to get to him because of the dumpster and some debris in the way. All I could do was watch. Jane was still in the excavator, and she was trying to hit the thing with the bucket. She couldn't, though, because it was too fast. I thought she was safe in there, but she needed to get out because she couldn't stay in there forever. I drove my truck up next to it, and she got the message because she jumped out and into the bed of my truck. I got out of those woods as fast as I could. None of us went back to that job. Word got around, and no one would do it. I heard finally they got a crew from out of state, but the second day, they all disappeared. After that, the rich guy just left that building standing.